Hey folks, and welcome back to another Weaver's Wood Shop, where this week I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. With it being hurricane season and us being here in Central Florida, I figured I'd show a little bit of generator maintenance, which I realize that mine might look a little bit different than yours, but the maintenance on a generator is still going to be basically the same. All I'm doing here is blowing the dust off my generator. It's been sitting in my shop, it's got dust all over it. So here all I'm doing is that is my kill switch I loosened up to take the spark plug wire off of the spark plug. I've already loosened up the spark plug and I'm taking the old spark plug out. I do this every year, put a new spark plug in it, change oil, all that kind of stuff. And there I am putting a new spark plug in. With spark plugs, you do not want to crank them down real tight. So you'll notice when I go ahead and I tighten it up that I'm just getting it kind of snug, a little bit tighter than snug. I'm sure there are some foot pounds out there that you can look up on the old intranet, that that you can torque it to with your torque wrench. It's really just a little bit tighter than snug, not super tight at all. And so there I am tightening it up, and then I'll put the spark plug wire back on, and I will tighten up that my kill switch there, and I will crank it down actually with my impact wrench since that is a head bolt, and we'll move on. And now we're going to go ahead and drain the oil out. My generator and most smaller generators like this do not have an oil filter. Once you get into big generators, you will have an oil filter just like on a car, but mine does not. But we're going to go ahead and drain the oil out because of where this generator sits on the rolling frame that we have it on. We had to take a water bottle there and kind of create a funnel, so we're not going to make a big old mess on that rolling frame. Create a funnel, and so that oil drains right into that oil drain pan, and it worked pretty good for us. And now while the oil is draining out, you see Cole, what he is doing. And Cole, by the way, is our walking stick guru. He is going to go ahead and change out the fuel filter. He's got looks like he's got the clamps loose, and to get the old fuel filter out, you just kind of twist and pull. And ones that have been in there a long time, you might have to get a flat blade screwdriver, or what we like to call them around here is a minus. That's what we like to call them, as a minus. Get it in there kind of between the fuel filter or whatever you're getting out of the line, and just kind of twist and pry a little bit, because sometimes those lines will get crap and crud and it'll get it all tight, and it just gets hard to take out, and you got to break it loose a little bit from around from around the end of that fuel filter. And then in order to put it back on, you got to push and turn in order to get it back on, and put the clamps back on, and you're good to go. And you also need to realize that these fuel filters are directional, and that marking will be on the fuel filter somewhere that tells you which direction the fuel filter is to be placed in those fuel lines. So be sure you pay attention to that when you're putting those on there, because if you put it on backwards, it's not going to work right. And something that I forgot to record was changing your air filter. It's as simple as taking your old one out, and you can go down to a Lowe's, a Home Depot, sometimes an AutoZone, and you can just figure out which one goes to yours. You can get some help, whatever, and put the new one in, and you're good to go. So now that you got all the old oil out, it's time to put the oil plug back in, which is what Cole just did, and he snugged it up. Again, you don't want to crank down on that oil plug real tight, because then you'll either strip it out or you'll get it in there so tight that you won't be able to get it out next time. And now it's time to put in that clean oil, and that's what we're doing here. Mine takes about 2.5 quarts. Every generator is a little bit different So if you don't have the manual for yours and can't figure out how much yours takes, go ahead, put in some, check it, and just keep putting it in until your dipstick says that it's full. And now what we're doing is we've got it outside and we've got the gas in it, and Cole just filled it up, and now we're getting ready to start it up and make sure that she runs. So what I'm doing here is pretty much all generators will have a valve that will control the flow of fuel from the gas tank to the carburetor, and I'm turning the valve on and I'm setting the choke, and I'm going to show Cole where the choke is, because this, I believe, will be Cole's first time ever starting this generator or trying to start this generator, because this generator is not the easiest one to pull in the world, that's for sure. It's got a lot of back pressure when you pull on that rope. And so I'll let you see, well, I'll go ahead and tell you there's a handle right there where that rope is, and if you're not careful, you'll definitely catch it. So yeah, he tries a couple of times, and then I'll step in and I'll try and get it started. So now that he's pinched his hands a couple of times, I went ahead over and pulled it. But like I said, it's all kind of about the angle of the dangle there with that handle. And as you can see, it pretty much cranked right up for me after Cole got it warmed up some for me. So I'm going to let it run for a little while and run some gas through it. And we're good to go for a little bit here. I normally let it run for about 10 minutes or so, as long as my ears can handle it, and just kind of make sure that it does everything it's supposed to do. And now that we know that everything does what it's supposed to do, what I do is to be sure to run all of the gas out of the carburetor, so we don't get any moisture issues or we don't get any old gunked up gas, is I go ahead and I run it completely out of gas. Because when gas sits around, it gets a gunked up, I don't know what other word to use, a gunked up, messy kind of deal that will end up causing problems for you on down the line. Let's say I do this now and I thankfully don't have to use it all hurricane season, and then something happens and next summer or the summer after I have to get it out and I haven't done any maintenance, but I let gas sit in the carburetor, I'm going to have problems if I don't run it dry. So therefore I always run it dry, and that's what I'm doing right now. I let it run until it runs out of gas, and then you'll see me, even after it runs out of gas, I'll try and crank it up again. So what it's doing right now is you'll hear it start spitting and sputtering just like it's doing right now until it runs out of gas, and then I'll come back and I'll try and crank it again, and then I'll actually drain whatever gas is in the gas lines and in the fuel filter. Right here I'm trying to crank it again, and I almost get it cranked with just the gas that's in the fuel filter. Nope. Okay, so anyways, now here we go, and now I'm going to start draining the gas out of the gas lines. And if you guys wouldn't mind, I know this is kind of out of the realm of my ordinary videos, but if you guys have maybe enjoyed this video or have appreciated the information in this video, if you would go ahead and subscribe and like, and maybe even click on that little bell over there, and maybe even share this video out there, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much. And now what I'm doing, and I would highly suggest waiting for everything to cool down. You don't want to do this while everything's hot. Gas on a hot motor would be a bad thing. In case you accidentally spray some onto something hot, it could cause a fire. But what I'm doing here is I've disconnected the fuel line, and I am draining all of the fuel into a gas can. What I just did is I caught the gas that came out of the fuel filter that the carburetor would not suck up, because again, I don't want any gas just laying in that fuel filter and gumming up. And now I'm going to drain the gas out of that gas tank, and I'm going to put it back into the gas can. So that's what I'm doing here, just laying that fuel line into the gas tank, and I'm going to store it in that gas can. I'm not saying it's going to be any safer in there. That's just what I do. So thank you guys very much for watching this week's Weaver's Woodshop, and I will see you next week for a corner cabinet. Thank you again.